Ooh, we're back at it again. Ooh, scrap that whole song. That was stupid. I literally just got home from a weekend trip to Philadelphia, but more importantly, on the way back home, I flattened a 3-year-old. Okay? And what I want you to know is it was the 3-year-old's fault, and he's learned things about life now. Like when people are bigger, dude, I'm coming out of the train station on my way home, right? I literally just got in, just put my bag down. I'm still in my jacket. Listen to the zipper. Okay, I'm not joking. I just got off the train. I'm like, oh man, what a weekend. But time to come home, relax, kick back, make some of that content that I'm used to making, and just have a good Tuesday by myself with my hobbies for my people, right? I'm listening to a podcast to get me in the mood to record this one. I'm coming out of the train station, all right? There's 500 construction workers, which is crazy because the trains still don't work. So what the hell are they all doing there? But I maneuver past all of them. I'm holding 2 bags, right? I got a sleep condition, so I got a bag so that I can sleep. I've got another bag of clothes because when you go places, you need clothes. And I'm coming out the train station. I just had a vitamin water and 2 hard-boiled eggs, and I'm on top of the world. I'm in a good mood, just thinking about dancing through the tulips in my mind. And I opened the door to get out of the train station. I check behind me, Oh, nobody behind me that wants to continue walking? Held the door for myself? It's no problem. Oh, we're just frolicking, right? But as I looked behind me, now what most people would do is tilt their neck backwards, right? You would rotate your face up to like 90 degrees and your shoulders like up to 15. You're on it. Your hips are your axis, right? And you're just rotating. And you do a little over the shoulder check. Bah. Oh, there's nobody back there? And you go on about your life. Now, what I did is I was in such a good mood, I wanted to use all my energy. So I didn't just rotate my face 180 degrees. I rotated the entirety of my being 180 degrees to say hi to the person behind me and going, is your day going as well as my day's going? Because I'm on top of the world right now. Alas, nobody was back there except for those 300 construction workers who were also not. When I say construction workers, I mean employees for the MTA. Okay, employees for the transit system that are gonna be there, and I don't know, squeegee the rails. I don't know what they do. Put more decaying wood on the tracks because if you ever come to, I'm gonna get to the story about knocking the kid over because it's very short. But if you ever come to New York City and you're on train tracks that are above ground, do yourself a favor and don't look at the wood that is holding the railway up, because it looks like you're gonna die if the train goes over that. And you need to just not have that visual in your head. Doubly so if you're like me and scared of heights. Last thing you need to do is understand that at any point the train could just fall over, because there's been the same piece of wood there for 400 years and they don't replace it. And also, the trains don't come up. Let me not get into a whole. Yeah, I got my problems with the MTA. Let's just say that. Anyway, so back to where I was. I'm turned 180 degrees, right? Looking at all of these employees and thinking to myself, you guys get paid for nothing, huh? In my head, obviously, because they were large men, don't want to get jumped, and then I'm already in a good mood. Why would I risk ruining it? Now, as I go to unturn myself the 180 degrees, what I see now, here's the problem with being a big beefy boy. Okay, I don't even feel this child. I need you to understand. Okay, I turn around and I think to myself, what the fuck is this on the floor? Because I turn around and there's just a pile of clothes on the floor. Now, I was 180 degrees the whole time. I don't remember it being there. But I was like, oh, maybe, this is all within 2 seconds. Maybe I, didn't notice it, turned around, saw nobody, turned back around, and am now seeing this pile that's been here the whole time. I'm also thinking to myself, this is the shortest homeless man that I've ever seen in my life. Because it's just some 3-foot dude laying on the floor. And the problem with this is there's some content creator out there, I don't know who the fuck these guys are, that have been doing stunts with this guy who's a, what's the polite word? He's a little person. That's how we're supposed to say it now? It changes every week, you know? I think it's little person right now. I'm going to hope that's what it is. If it's anything else, sorry, but you guys should pick one thing, you know? But they've got like a little person that they dress up like a child and then have the guy basically toss the dude around. Like the little person's like 35, 40, you know? The short guy, the shorty G, you know? And then everybody gets pissed off, and then they go to check on the kid, and it's a full-grown man who happens to be short. And that's the sketch. And so I'm like, oh, these guys are in my neighborhood. I love these guys. He's on the floor. Dude, where's the guy with the camera? I know the guy with the camera's here. And I finally take a second to get out of my own head about it. I look down at it's just a 4-year-old kid who just decided to be in the way. Now, let me explain something to you. Why this is this. And I know you're going to be like, oh my God, you almost killed a kid, right? Let me explain this to you. Every part of this was that kid's fault. And that kid is going to learn from this situation to watch where he's going, as we've all had to learn at one point in life. Now, you know to watch where you're going. You know what bumping into people feels like. You know that it can result in you falling over. You may not remember specifically what moment in your life taught you that. You may not, you know, maybe you were playing sports as a kid and it was the first time you got tackled in football. Maybe, you know, you were horsing around with your buddies doing WWE moves and your friend picked you up a little too easy. You thought you'd be harder to lift. You didn't realize how small you were. Maybe you failed your classes at school and your parents gave you that old spanking and you're like, this hurts more. At some point, you learn about the physicality of life and it lives through your subconscious for the rest of your life to remind you to avoid it if it's not necessary. Now, if someone comes up to your girl and slaps your girl on the butt, obviously something needs to be done. However, in life, if someone comes up to your girl and says, hey man, I want to fuck your girl, and then you go, no, and you leave, and nothing has to happen, then nothing has to happen. Because getting in that fight anyway could kill you. Literally any fight you get into, you're living through life is basically learning how to not die until you die anyway, right? But you want as much time on this planet as you can get, which means you have to learn how to not die. So all of these lessons as a kid, every time you get hurt is important. Well, you know, when someone's cooking and you go to touch the pot with your hand and it's too hot and it burns you a little bit, you need that because then your brain learns about what the fuck fire is. So when you see a giant fire and it feels hot, you don't think to yourself, oh, it's so cold out. I'd feel great if I jumped in the big fire. Because then you die, and though the removal of your carbon footprint would benefit the rest of us environmentally, we'd prefer if you were here. Because you might have been the person to solve that anyway without people needing to die. You get what I'm saying? So every time you've been hit, scratched, spit on, got the flu, all of these are life's lessons on how not to die. And they're the most important when you're like 3 to 13 years old. Every single one of these that happen to you. You get into skateboarding, you break a leg. You have to think about, do you want to really take this on as a career because you're risking damaging your body? Same thing with MMA, same thing with boxing, same thing with most athletics. You're trading in you're deteriorating your health for quicker income. Are you at the level of skill where you can afford to do that? You need to be able to come up with these decisions. You need to be able to comb through your options, know the risk and reward and consequences and cash, and then come to a conclusion. And this kid learned today was the really important lesson of move. Or, if you want to be more polite about it, be aware of your surroundings. Because he got floored. Now, when I remind you, I didn't even feel that I pushed him over. I just saw that I did. You don't think that's a lesson for him? That I almost, had I not been self-aware in that moment, would have continued walking, possibly on him. His life's over and he's 4. But thankfully, when I was young, I probably tripped and hit my head or something and realized, oh, I should pay attention to my surroundings. And so when I saw this blob on the floor, this black blob of an Aaron Hernandez gun, which we have to talk about in a bit, I thought, oh, maybe that's a person. I looked, confirmed that it was, and then didn't continue to walk. Then looked around for his mom, who was nowhere nearby, was on the other side of the door. And my question is, why is your kid on the other side of the door? Your kid, she is literally, there's a wall between the two of you, and that gap in your ability to be able to see your kid almost got your kid killed. Because we were also up a staircase. What if I would have knocked him over closer to the staircase? Am I going to jail? No. She should. She should. Because the kid's 4. He can't walk around like that. Anyway, that's how pissed off I was about that. But you know what I did? I came home. I sat down. I was like, oh, it's cold out, but it's nice in my room. I feel good. Can't wait to get some content created. And here we are. Jumped right into this podcast. Like, fuck it, you know? Anyways, over the weekend, took a whole trip to Philadelphia. Was there for almost 24 hours straight with no sleep. Now, with my prior mentioned sleep condition, that's a challenge. But we got it done. And we had a whole morning, afternoon, and night over there. Okay, we went on an art trip. We went and saw some murals. Apparently, there was this street artist who did graffiti when he was younger, and now that he's, he was getting in trouble for it. And then they were like, oh, instead of throwing him in jail, which cost us money, why don't we just give him some paint and tell him to do it legally? And then there's this guy that was like the best prospect out of that program, came out and just started painting murals all over Philadelphia, and they're all like little different love letters. And, they're stupid and whatnot. I believe his name was Stephen Powers, something to that effect. Just look up like Powers murals Philadelphia or something. I'm sure he pops up. I'm not going to Google it for you is what I'm trying to say. We talked about this before. You got to do some of the work yourself. It's good work. I liked it. It's interesting to look at. If you want to look at it too, and you don't want to go to Philadelphia and go to the PAFA, which is the Philadelphia Academy of Fine Arts. If you don't want to do that and then go into their subsection, not the main section, because they'll tell you you're stupid and go to the subsection, and you don't want to book a love tour for $23 a person, which you're paying for 1 pin a pass and then the tour, where they take you on the actual train and then you want to ride the trains around and go find the murals and have a woman point them out to you and then show you a little book that has all the murals. If you don't want to do that and you just want to Google it, that's on you. Don't ask me to put a link down there. I saw it. I'm good. I know what it looks like. Oh, you don't? Oh, you want to see what it looks like? You want me to post the link for you after I just gave you all of the information? Okay. You have a fun afternoon, huh? But we go on this tour. Nice little lovely tour. The woman who was the tour guide couldn't be more adorable. Okay? You had to hear this woman say some of the murals are like, they're a little funky. Apparently one of them is after this Bob Marley song. I don't know the song. We'll look it up later myself. You see how it works? Gonna look it up later myself. Apparently there's a line in one of his songs that says, "Me wani no getty." And this woman had to say it. And she was not ethnic enough to get it out without it sounding hysterical. And it being that hysterical made her the cutest woman in Philadelphia. And she's definitely like 85, but she looked like 42. But she was talking about shit that was going on in the 1940s. And she's definitely eating some shit that we all need to eat. Because she looks 40 years younger than she is. Is she still just on the subway giving tours, taking your money? Just taking your money. $23. I'll show you some paintings. Thanks, bro. She's hustling at like 85. But she looks 42. Because all of that extra income is just letting her get all the products that keep her youthful. And she probably eats a lot of cucumbers or some shit. I don't know. A lot of kiwis and bananas and oatmeal. And she probably does she's probably lifts so fucking hard. In comparison to her. She was probably like exactly 4'3". She was so short. But she definitely can deadlift like 200 pounds, which for her size is very impressive. Like a whole little Daisy Ridley thing going on. She takes us on the tour. We come back. We see some random statues around the city. Went and got a cheesesteak. You're there. You got to do it. It was good. It's not the best sandwich I've ever had, but it was a good quality cheesesteak. It was moist. No dry meats. Apparently, it's a thing there to put Cheese Whiz on it. Didn't taste the difference. But your boy likes junk food and processed foods. Processed cheese, put it on there. So we had that. What else did we do? We saw a mosaic museum, which was basically interestingly arranged trash in a building that they were way too proud of. I'm talking literally some of the walls are just like piles of bricks and cements, and then there's like broken shards of glass and broken dinner plates and figurines that people just throw out that they add to it over time. And they really thought that they had the shit on lock. And let me explain to you, I could make that music. Now here's the thing. I might just make that myself in New York and then charge you to come in and look at it. Because it doesn't seem like it was that hard to put together. Also, all they had to pay for was the building or the land space or whatever and some cement. Everything else, you can just go to a landfill and dig up. Mugs, plates. What, at most, they had to go to a thrift shop and pay 30 cents for a mug and then crack the mug and then add it to the pile of cement. Now, was it interesting to look at? Sure. But interesting in the way that if you're sitting, let's say, in a Starbucks or your local coffee shop, and there's a homeless man across the street, and he's doing something, but you don't know what he's doing, that's interesting to look at. The same way this building was interesting to look at. Now, with that in mind, when I also explained to you, in New York, we have a very specific type of, there's rules to being homeless in New York City. You got to live by certain guidelines. And we've got our relationship with the homeless. They're supposed to operate within a certain way, and then we ignore you anyway, but there's a way to operate. In New York City, homeless people generally tend to stick to the side of the street, right? Either tucked up against the building or closer to the road. Ideally, more tucked up against the building because closer to the road, there's cars. You're risking getting run over. So an accident happens, So our homeless people generally hang along the corners of buildings. Sometimes if it's really late at night, they'll like go in. You can go into a bank to take out money, and they'll kind of like sleep on the floor of the bank because it's warmer than being outside, which I understand because you gotta come up with, at least it's a strategy, however long they can be in there until they get kicked out. Plus, if they were to get arrested by the cops for being in there, what do they care? Then they go to jail and then they're not outside. So it's a decent strategy. Usually the cops, if they notice them, kick them up, kick them out. But I've more often seen them sleep in the bank with no problem than I've seen cops come and take them away twice in my lifetime. Because most people just leave them there. You're like, oh, I'm not going to take my money out of this bank. Guess I don't need the money that bad. It's going to smell when you get in there. Now, if they talk to you, which normally they shouldn't, normally what they'll do is they'll have a cup. They'll shake the cup. If you want to give them money, you just give them money. You go on about your day. But they, the amount of people that are in New York, there's so many of us. There's no way that you're going to be able to stop and grab the attention of 400 people every 2 minutes that are passing by you on a Manhattan street. It's just not possible. So you get defeated. You just Here's my cup. You know the deal. I need money. You have it. If you'd like to spare some, put it in the cup. Now, when you get to Philadelphia, I personally believe part of the problem is that it's not so populated there. Now, there's a lot of people. I was in whatever city I was, but whatever section of the city I was in. But there's a fair amount of people. Not as much as New York, though. A Manhattan day, so we must have gotten there at 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. And walking around in the morning, I'm like, oh, there's a decent fair amount of people. 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning in Manhattan, it is packed already. You want to get to where you need to go, you're going to have to shove through 300 people per square whatever. I'm not good at measurements. 300 people per block. To get to where you need to go, all the taxis are already out there, clogging up the streets. The subway is packed. There are people on bikes. There are people making deliveries. There are people just coming in and out of work. There are people going to shops. There are people who are heading back home at 8 in the morning from partying until 8 in the morning. You'd be surprised, but you see them a lot. Okay, that Philadelphia population pales in comparison. It was not that packed for the entire day. At the peak of the day, it was a very, very, very slow Manhattan morning if you took out 80% of the population that walks around Manhattan. And so these homeless people, their ratio or percentage chance of being able to grab your attention compared to what it would be in New York gives them a little confidence boost. That is scary, because in New York, they will not talk to you. But in Philadelphia, they will do nothing but talk to you. They will, first of all, they don't even scoot over to the side of walk, right? To the side of the sidewalk and corner up against the building, which not only in New York is it just nicer, it's a necessity, because if they don't do that, if a homeless person in New York decides to sleep in the middle of the sidewalk, they are going to get trampled. So unless they have decided I'm done with life, they've got to scoot up against the side, because they were just going to get stomped over by the incredibly disinterested and large group of people that are going to be passing by. In Philadelphia, they sleep right in the middle of the fucking street. They make sure they are in your way. When you walk by them, they wake up like it's a fucking haunted house that you went to with your friends, and there's a clown at the end of the hallway that reaches out and grabs your arm a little bit. That's the homeless people in Philadelphia. You see some guy sleeping on the floor, you're like, so my first reaction, we're walking by, I see this guy on the floor, you're like, oh, he's too in the middle of the street. He's way too close to the middle of the street. He's supposed to be on the side of the street. Do they not know how to homeless over here? Did they not get the pamphlets to Philadelphia so that these homeboys can scooch on over a little bit? Apparently, no. Now, not only did he have the audacity to be right in my fucking way, he had the audacity to jump up. Now, not like a full, don't picture he did like a Bruce Lee kip up and jumped in my face. He kind of like scooched his elbow under himself, picked himself up, and waggled his styrofoam cup at me a little too aggressively. But that's more than he's supposed to be doing. Also, another interesting fact about the homeless people in Philadelphia is that none of them speak English. Now, what I don't want you to do is in any way, shape, or form misinterpret this as them speaking another language, or, oh, they're all Hispanic and they don't speak English. I'm talking about they don't speak anything, but they speak to you. Here's what an interaction with a homeless guy in Philadelphia would sound like if you were listening to it as an audiobook. Or, if just the audio of this interaction. Here we go. Oh God, it's so cold out, man. Because we came specifically at a time when it'd be so cold in Philadelphia. Oh my! Hey, what's that pile of clothes on the floor? Oh, that's a dude. Why is he so in the middle of the street? Shouldn't he be more? Whatever. Let's just walk around him. Money. I, of course, say nothing because I'm ignoring him and continuing to walk. But all of them just gargle at you. It's incredible. Okay, so you see one later in the day. Hey man, you guys are going fucking just now. I don't know how to decode that. I feel like it's a language they've come up with amongst themselves. If so, they should understand that I haven't learned it to know what they're going on about. But they do this. They do this quite often, and they do it very aggressively. And it's, as far as I know, because I'm not much of a traveler, this now, in my head, is just a Philadelphia homeless person thing. Now, later on in the year, when we get closer to the summer, your boy's going to be dipping on down to Florida, dipping on down for a road trip, stopping a couple of places along the way, from what I've, was last told. And if that's the case, I'll see if I can pick up what homeless people are like in different countries, in different areas, in different states, states in my case. But I would implore all of you, if you're a fan of the podcast, if you like this show, if you want to be a part of this community that we're building and add to the content, if you have homeless people in an area that I haven't been to, which will be most areas that exist in the world because your boy doesn't go anywhere. I need to know what homeless people are like in your city. I need to know what they're like in your country. And we're going to figure this out. We're going to group them by area, by personality types. If you've got garglers, we're going to call these garglers, if you've got garglers in your area, I need to know. I need to know how often they are. I need to, like in New York City, we have a, quote unquote fake homeless or joke sign homeless. Like the jokers we have, they'll have a sign that's like, hey, I need money for weed and beer. And they think it's funny and you're supposed to give them $1. So we've got jokers, we've got garglers, we've got narcoleptics. We've got wheelchairers. I have to come up with a funny term for that. But we got people in wheelchairs. We've got like medical people. We've got we just got kicked. We got the e-beggars. I need to know what you have in your area. And I need to know now. Call 1-800-JudgeMental. We need to know, what are homeless people like in your area? Because if they're anything like mine, we need to know. And that's it. And it's nothing more than I want to know. Because I am fascinated with stupid shit like this. And so I want to know what it's like. I want to know what they do. What do they wear? Who do they talk to? What race are they? How old are they? How young are they? Do they mingle with each other? What do they do? How do they beg you for money? What do they eat? Where do they go? Where do they congregate? The amount of times on TV and in video games I've seen homeless people, hands around a dumpster that's on fire for warmth, but I never see that in real life. Do they do that in your town? Where are they getting that from? That's been in every movie and video game you've ever seen that's had homeless people. They have their own community. And John Wick, they're assassins. They have their own homeless assassin community. Where are those guys? How do you get to that elite level of homeless? How do you become so efficient at being homeless you become an assassin? I need answers. And if this grows and we get more people in here, somebody can tell me. But I need to know. I can't figure it out myself. Now, don't act like I haven't Googled it already. Don't try to throw that back at me thinking you're slick. Oh, remember we told her to research a thing? I've researched it. You need to go in person. There's no statistics on this online. I'm sure statistics of race of homelessness people and whatnot. I'm talking styles. We're bringing information into 2020 that's not readily available. This is the benefit of the internet, is that we can pool a group of us together. And we can say to each other, man, we got to figure out what's up with all of these different homeless styles, why they operate the way that they do, how they've become like this. How do you become a gargler? What makes a gargler different from an e-beggar? E-beggar, I'm talking about people on trains and in stores and whatnot. How do they pick locations? Why do some of them pick the worst locations? People tucked away in the Chase Bank. Makes sense. You want to be warm. In the middle of winter, you'll see people sleeping next to a river. Wouldn't it be colder? Is it out of necessity? We need answers. And only together with our combined intellect can we come to a conclusion on what the hell is going on with these dudes. But it's crazy, and we need to know. Outside of that, guys, now we get back from Philadelphia. It's crazy late. We sleep all day. We wake up, and I finish what is called Inside a Killer's Mind or something to that effect. The Aaron Hernandez docu-series on Aaron Hernandez, the famous New England Patriots player who scored a touchdown at the Super Bowl, the tight end. Okay. And his life. Now, what I'm going to do right now is warn you that if you're not interested in having this spoiled for you, skip 10 minutes until like the 40-minute mark, and then I'll be answering Twitter questions and signing off. Up until then, I'm talking about this documentary. If you haven't seen it and you continue to listen past this point, don't complain to me. I don't feel bad for you. I don't care. Be thankful that I went through the effort of giving you a warning. That's lasted about a minute now. Aaron Hernandez. That story is fucking insane. But what's more insane than the story is one of these fucking guys and his dad that they got to sit on this documentary series. Now, when I tell you, I got completely livid every time these two fuckers showed up. One of the things that they do in this doc, so if you don't know the Aaron Hernandez story, he was a famous football player for the New England Patriots. He played tight end. He was amazingly good at his position. He had a $40 million deal with the Patriots. Turns out he murdered somebody and then continued playing football as if he didn't murder somebody, and he got caught for it. And obviously the documentary is the story of how he grew up, how he became the way he was, why he would kill the guy, which to this day, they don't really have answers. They don't know why he would do it, what the motivation is, how that plays out. It's a very interesting case. But one of the things they do while they're painting the story is they try to make it, now, and I'm not even 100% fully convinced on this yet, but they really try to make a case that Aaron Hernandez was a secretly closeted bisexual man. And that one of the motives as to why he might have killed the dude was that the guy would have known that Aaron Hernandez was bisexual and might have outed him. And, living in the football universe that he lived in and not wanting people to know that, he decides to kill the guy instead. So to help them continue to make this case, they decide to source some guy that he went to high school with, who apparently is claiming that he had gay relations with him the whole time, when they were kids. They would go home and fuck around and mess around and get a little physical. But of course how interesting is it that he decides that he doesn't want to bring this up until like a month or two after the guy kills himself and can't respond to it. You don't think that's weird? And what makes it so much worse to me is that his dad, is a fucking idiot. Both of these guys are definitely not scoring any higher than a 2 on their SATs. And they gave them so much interview time. I'm talking like 50% of the goddamn documentary is this guy just going, I mean, we messed around in high school and so he's gay. And I'm gay. And I had to tell my dad that I was gay. And then it's his dad who's sitting next to him the whole time going, so I've got a gay son. And I didn't want a gay son. I'll be honest. But I have a gay son. And I love my gay son. And Aaron Hernandez is gay. And so obviously everything happened because they're gay. And the whole situation would have been fine if he just would have married my son. But he chose not to marry my son. And so in the world of football, if you don't marry my son, you die. And they're doing this for like 3 hours. And it took so much of my mental energy to get past this fucking every single time they got interviewed. I basically, mentally, now I'm watching with the lady, okay? So it's on. Now, what am I doing while she's watching? In my head, I am muting the TV. Now, she can hear it because in real life, the TV's not muted. Now, I don't know if you guys knew that I had this superpower, but I can just decide I don't want to listen to it, and now it's on mute. And I use this ability to a great effect whenever I need it. If I'm streaming and you come into my stream and you say some stupid shit in the chat, I decided I didn't see it. And if you say it again, I've decided that I don't see you. And the greatest thing about this superpower is I can do it with anything. And thank God I have it, because I needed it to get to the good parts of the documentary, because these two were fucking killing me. Now, one other thing that I do want to mention is if you guys ever take time out to see it, obviously I'm assuming if you're listening to this part, you either didn't care about the spoiler or you saw it already. Now, if you saw it already, agree with me on this. And if you haven't, but you watch it after, when you get to this part, remember that I said this. Now, the wife fucking helped. The wife helped. And the way she tried to deny helping was so dumb. The fact that she is not also in prison now just for being the worst liar that I've ever seen in my life baffles me. Now, one of the last things you would want to do, just explain to you how dumb this whole setup is, okay? It basically, to make a long story short, the reason that Aaron Hernandez got caught for committing this murder is he made it his mission to do everything he could to make sure that they knew he did it. There was no cover-up, no. His footprints are at the scene. He rented a car in his name. There's footage of him leaving his house. There's bullet shells from the gun in his car. He stopped at a gas station to buy Blue Bubblicious, and then when he returned the car, offered the fucking girl at the rent-a-car Blue Bubblicious gum. And then in the car was wadded up Blue Bubblicious with a bullet shell in it. You cannot make this shit up. On top of that, he has a home security system that records everything and anything that happens in his house. And he cut out some footage randomly, but he didn't cut out when he left the house, when he got home, and him hanging with his accomplices in the murder the next day. Part of also what they find in the footage is the wife basically taking the gun and throwing it out. And when they ask her, hey, he sent you this text basically implying that there was a gun box somewhere. And we see from your own home security camera, a couple minutes later, you throwing out something. What was in the box? I don't know. Where'd you throw it out? I don't know. And she's not in jail also. She got rid of the murder weapon and tried to pretend like she didn't. And there's a chance that he was even involved in one before. He got Jose Baez. If you know who Jose Baez is, he fucking takes care of shit as you're a lawyer. Jose Baez got him off of a double homicide later. But she probably fucking got rid of the gun for that too. Because she's complaining to him on the phone. Oh, I've always got to clean up after your messes. Wink, wink, wink. I know what the fuck you're saying. I'm not stupid. If you're gonna phrase it weirdly, because they record your calls when you call your husband out of prison, don't imply that you might have hid something. Why would you even risk making the implication knowing the phone call is recorded? But you know what? If these two had any sense like that, he wouldn't have got caught in the first place. Because he had every tool he needed to make sure he didn't get caught for this murder, but he's a fucking idiot. And so he got caught anyway. And so if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. If you have seen it, you know what I'm saying is correct. Because we saw the same thing. And I know you guys are smart out there. I know if you saw that, you're listening to what I'm saying, and you're going, that's what I was saying. And that's why you're here. And that's why I appreciate having you here. And if you're thinking it was something else, that's fine. Art is open to interpretation. Read the story for what you want. I just want you to know that I figured it out for you so you can relax. Now we're at that point in the podcast, guys, where of course every single week you can either @JudgeMental on Twitter or reply to the tweet that is posted weekly with your Twitter questions. And this week is no different. I'm going to go through, find the questions, answer the questions, and then we're signing off because we did it. Question number 1 from, again, early on. I want you guys to know that when I get famous and I'm cemented down in the history books as one of the best content creators that's ever decided to sit down and make content for people, that the Bay 99 was there the whole time. Was there in the OG days, has continued to support. And I want his name in the history books next to mine. Now, I want mine bigger, but I want his there. Okay? Now, here's a question. How do you live in New York knowing that chaos lives there? For those of you who are not aware, we've got a Discord member who goes by the name of Chaos, who's basically insane, right? We love her, but she makes no sense, and she's crazy, and we keep our distance from her because she says weird shit sometimes, you know? Now, how do I live in New York knowing that she's here? I live in New York, far away from her. I also know that Chaos is too lazy to leave her house, so she's no threat anyway. Because if she wanted, let's say Chaos wanted to kill me Aaron Hernandez style, and obviously she would, because she would leave evidence all over the fucking scene if she did, and you cannot convince me otherwise. That would involve her getting up and going outside. That would be too much work, and so I'm safe. And with that knowledge, I can go all around New York because I know if I'm outside, she's not there. And so that's one of the easiest parts of my day. And so no fear from my end. High-level intellect will get you to the same level of success that I found. Now, we also have Kalo at JudgeMental. At Kalo890, and the Bane was the BAAANE. Too many A's, but we'll fix his username later. At JudgeMental, from Kalo890, what's your opinion on Irish rap music? Here's my opinion on it. It sounds something like this. This is the beat, right? I'm too lazy to actually try with the beat. Now, if you want to eat beans and potatoes and beans with onion and cheese, please. But with an accent. And if they rap about anything else, they're just pretending. Yeah. Oh, and if you want to eat potatoes and beans with the cheese, and that's what we do, and onions, and then we have chips with the onions. By the way, if you guys haven't seen my streams lately, I've been freestyling on stream, and I'm fucking killing it. All right? I'm talking, I've got enough bars to donate to a prison because they need to keep these inmates behind them, okay? I've got so many bars, I had to order a dumpster and a construction team to get them out of my house because they're taking up so much space. Okay, steel, alloy, aluminum, doesn't matter what the kind is, your boy's got them. Now, if I was an Irish rapper, they would all be about potatoes and beans and onion and cheese. Since I'm not, I've got actual bars about actual topics. And if you want to hear them, come check my live streams. I do them 3 times a week over on twitch.tv/Kevin M. Cologne. That information should be in the description below. If it's not, then your boy is being lazy, but you could also Google it. Remember that? Outside of that, guys, it's been a pleasure. Every week I talk to you. I love talking to you, and we'll be here next week with more stuff to talk about. And as always, I love you, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.